morning, everybody. My name is Bernstein, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of being the president and CEO of CIFAR, the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research. Welcome to this symposium, exciting symposium, on untangling the cosmos. I hope you're as excited as I am about the event today. I think it's going to be just a feast of great science about something that's really interesting to all of us. Who hasn't looked up at a clear night sky and just looked at all the stars in the sky and wondered what the heck is going on there and how it got there? I mean, it just appeals to all of us. And I think this is truly a golden age for astronomy, for astrophysics and cosmology. Just thinking about the LIGO experiment last year and detecting gravitational waves as one example of the excitement and the advances that are being made today in astrophysics. Of course, an ultimate goal of all this science is to understand the complete 13.8 billion year evolution of the universe. And the nature and evolution of the universe is truly, I think, one of the great questions of our time, and it's always interested humanity. And we are starting to get some of the tools to actually address that question and where we stand in that enormous universe. The researchers that you're going to hear from today are truly amongst the best astronomers and cosmologists in the world. And many of them are CIFAR fellows in our program in cosmology and gravity. For those of you who aren't familiar with CIFAR, we are a Canadian-based global research institute with almost 400 of the world's very best scientists from 18 countries at the moment, whose work embraces everything from artificial intelligence to economics, from genomics to the origins of the cosmos. CIFAR's cosmology and gravity program is, I think, quite unique, both in terms of its longevity and its breadth of scope and scope. It was founded on the belief that only by bringing together cosmologists, particle physicists, gravitational theorists, experimentalists, instrumentalists, could we make really profound progress in answering some of the deepest questions about the origin and evolution of the universe. This unique multidisciplinary mix of theory and experimentation has created a truly fertile environment for new ideas, and it's just so energizing to go to one of their program meetings. It's the same recipe that we use for all of our programs. We bring together, as I said, some of the world's best researchers and put them into a collaborative environment. Our goal is to create global communities of top scientists and give them both the time and the freedom to come together and to take risks, creative risks in their science, test their ideas with each other, and make progress that none of them could make alone. I want to recognize the head of this program, Cosmology and Gravity, Dick Bond, sitting over here in the front row. Dick has been in this program as head of the program for 15 years, and he has provided, I think, unparalleled leadership in cosmology and gravity, not just for our program, but in the world, and true dedication to CIFAR. I also want to welcome our new director of the program, the R. Howard Webster Foundation Fellow, Vicki Caspi from McGill University, and Vicki's sitting over here, and you'll hear from both of them in a few minutes. As our new program director, Vicki is taking the program in new directions, reflected in its new name, Gravity and the Extreme Universe, and maybe Vicki might tell us a little bit about what that means in her talk or in the panel discussion afterwards. And I also would like to thank the Webster Foundation for its generous support for this program. And thanks to all of you for coming, and to the Science Center for graciously hosting this event. And I also would like to thank our affiliates, Science Odyssey and Innovation 150, for their help with this event, and RBC for their generous support. And I also would like to thank Jay Ingram, who I haven't seen for a very long time, so one of the nice things for me is to see Jay again, for agreeing to host this event and to, I think, prod our speakers into very interesting discussions after their talks. I've known Jay for a long time, and it's great to have him here with us today. And now I'd like to introduce Maurice Bitran, who's the CEO and Chief Science Officer of the Ontario Science Centre. But before I ask him to come to the podium, I just, when I walked in here, brought back two very kind of different kind of memories of this gem of not just of a building, but of a place that's dedicated to science for the public. The first memory, of course, was when my children were 2 or 3 or 4 years old, and I'm sure many of you have the same memory, and watching them run down that hallway into the Ravine building and push every button they could before they ran to the next one. And what a great place for children to first experience science and to see that Van de Graaff generator with hair going up in the air, etc. The second memory was I was on the board of the directors of the Ontario Science Centre, and one of the great privileges of being on the board of the OSC is you get to go behind the scenes. And although this is a big building, a lot of the space is actually you don't see as a visitor. It's actually behind the stage, as it were, with the construction of these exhibits that can withstand 4-year-olds pushing them endlessly until they get bored and go on to the next one. And it's just amazing. And maybe we could convince Maurice to let us all have a tour behind the scenes some point today. So Maurice, thank you for hosting us today, and it's great to see you again.
Thank you, Alan, and welcome back to the Ontario Science Centre. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Ontario Science Centre. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. C'est un vrai plaisir de vous souhaiter une chaleureuse bienvenue ici au Centre des Sciences de l'Ontario. We are delighted to welcome the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research, its president, Alan Bernstein, the distinguished researchers that will unveil the secrets of the cosmos for us today. Jay Ingram, welcome back to the Science Centre as well. But most of all, you, the interested public. That's what we are about. And the Ontario Science Centre has welcomed over 51 million curious visitors since it opened its doors in 1969. And we're constantly looking for new ways to engage the public in the thrill of discovery. When you come back to visit, please make sure to see our newest experiences, Discovery Way and the Energy Show, which takes place in this very auditorium. That's why you see the solar panels and the pinwheels on the sides. We also aim to be an integral part of Ontario's innovation and education ecosystems. We do this by working with research and education institutions in the development of our exhibits, and by working with startup companies to present and beta test their technologies on our premises. Our third strategic pillar is to be a venue for the public dialogue about science and society. And that's why we're so delighted to have you here today for this symposium. The Canadian Institute for Advanced Research understands the crucial importance of engaging with the public to discuss the significance and impact of scientific discovery. At the Ontario Science Centre, we believe that science literacy is a prerequisite for meaningful democratic participation in a technological society like ours. At first blush, it may seem that cosmology is far removed from everyday life. But let's remember that for most of human history, cosmology was part of mythology and theology, and that every culture on the planet has some sort of explanation for how the universe came to be. But even after cosmology became a part of astronomy, it didn't advance that much until about 100 years ago, when Albert Einstein laid the foundations for general relativity. Since then, however, the interaction of observational discoveries on one side and theoretical developments on the other have led to an incredible strides in our understanding of the universe, its origin, and its eventual fate. Although the complexities of the mathematical formulation of general relativity and string theory have conspired to keep the non-specialists away from cosmology, I have every confidence that the cosmologists and astrophysicists presenting today will find the language to invite us and welcome us all today on the new understanding of this wonderful universe we all share. I, for one, can't wait. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. So I'm assuming that some of you in this audience already know a little bit about cosmology and understand that it's actually awesome. Awesome in the old original meaning of the word, where it actually meant something, rather than awesome deep dish pizza or something like that. And some of you may not be that familiar with it, and maybe not even convinced that it's so mind-boggling, but for those of you who are somewhat skeptical, I would say just wait. By the end of the day, you will have heard 12 outstanding scientists, as Alan Bernstein said, paint a picture of what we understand about the universe, and I think it's impossible to be unmoved by that. So you'll get a sense of individual pieces of research, but at least a sense of how it might be starting to come together. I mean, I'm not claiming that the answers are all right in front of us. That's not true and never has been. But still, it's fascinating stuff. I've had this book, Cosmology Plus One, a collection of Scientific American articles, in my personal library, probably from the time I knew Alan Bernstein, like 1977. Now, that's only 40 years ago. That isn't a long time. But the topics in this collection are so different from the topics that you're going to hear about today. So then, quasars were a sensation. The question was, would the universe expand forever? Another question was the search for unambiguous evidence of a black hole. But now, you're going to get the same, over the next few hours, you're going to get this same sort of sense of exploring what we know, but instead of quasars, we're going to have pulsars and fast radio bursts. Rather than searching for a black hole, we're going to look at the evidence for gravitational waves produced when two black holes collide. And the expansion of the universe has been deeply complicated by the discovery of something called dark energy. And the thing about cosmology that fascinates me is that there's this amazingly intimate interplay between theory and ideas and technology. The ideas demand new technology to be able to derive answers raised by those theories. The technology, in turn, finds things that challenge the ideas. And I don't know of another science where they're so closely interlocked, and you're going to hear some fantastic evidence of that today. So you'll note the program is 4 segments, 3 speakers in each. Each will speak for a few minutes, and then we will have a panel discussion, but also that really is a question and answer period. So you'll get to ask questions of each group of 3 researchers. First segment is called the cosmic background. And you should understand the word background, I think, in 2 senses. One, the first 3 speakers will provide a kind of thought background for the rest of the day. This is kind of a big picture of the universe. But of course, cosmic background also refers to the cosmic microwave background discovered in the 1960s that has really set cosmology on a different path. Its discovery is one of my favorite stories from cosmology. 2 scientists in the US were trying to fit out a radio telescope for astrophysical experiments, and they had this annoying bit of static that they couldn't get rid of. They even wondered if it were pigeons nesting in the mouth of the radio telescope. It was the first time, and perhaps the last time in history, that pigeon shit was referred to as a white dielectric material. Anyway, it wasn't pigeons. And the cosmic background radiation has been described by Nobel laureate Edward Purcell as it just may be the most important thing anybody has ever seen. It'd be hard to start the day better than that. Our first speaker is Dr. Dick Bond. I was going to say some of the things that Alan said, so I won't. I will just say this. In the movie The Big Lebowski, the dude is referred to as a man for his time and place. Now, I'm not comparing Dick Bond to the dude, but I think it's fair to say that Dick Bond, who has led this program for 15 years, is a man for his time and place. Please welcome Dick Bond.